I certainly support mutual understanding and cooperation between Poles and Ukrainians, but I don't support the notion that Russia currently is a Soviet-like enemy that has to be fought at all costs. I don't see any evidence that Moscow is interested in attacking NATO. It's certainly not interested in attacking the West. And I think this entire conflict could have been avoided had we simply recognized Moscow's legitimate interest in what happens in Ukraine. Ukraine is a neighbor of Russia. What happens in Russia is important to Ukrainians. What happens in Ukraine is important to Russians. So we could have intervened early on and said, let's have a ceasefire and talk. In fact, we could have listened to the Russians over the last 10, 20 years about their concerns with what was happening inside Ukraine. And I think now we see with this Zelensky regime, a very dangerous government that is incurably hostile to Russia, that responds exclusively to instructions from Washington, that has decided that it wants to fatally weaken Russia in any way possible. The whole thing has backfired, obviously. Russia is actually economically and financially stronger today than it was when the intervention began. I would argue it's becoming stronger with each passing hour militarily. So the solution to this is not to join this futile and pointlessly destructive war with Moscow, is to get some sense into people's minds in the government in Kiev. And the last thing that Warsaw ought to do is join this thing. Warsaw should offer its services to broker an end to this destructive conflict. That's really where Warsaw could play the role of a great power.